All right. Hello, everybody. It's Chandler Klebs here, and I'm with my good friend Pafa Ortiz, and he's getting ready for a camping trip or something like that, he told me. And so we're just talking for a few minutes because we haven't really had a chance to talk all that much recently. And so, yeah, there's been a lot going on lately. And so there's a few things I'd like to say, unless you had something you wanted to say, Pafa, just, um,
Well, I always have stuff to say, but go ahead, Chandler. You go
Well,
ahead and
yeah,
shoot. Get it out.
yeah.
Get out.
So I,
What
so
is it
I,
to
I
say?
just wanted to say, I'm feeling a lot better than I was over the past couple of days. Because I was really upset, about what happened with what Daniel said, and then feeling like I was letting people down because I was quitting doing the podcast and stuff. But I went to the park. I had time to think about a lot of stuff, and more I realized, there's so many people who, even though I don't always know, that my life does benefit a lot of people. There's a lot of people who would like to have me here, and so that really made me feel good because for me that's an important thing for me. You know what I mean? And it was just, I guess I was just already feeling discouraged in life in general, which is why it was so easy for that comment to bother me. You
Yeah, of
know?
course. Of course. If we're already weighed down by the worries and cares of life, and then, something like that, especially for you, you're a sensitive person. It's like poking holes in a dam, and then that's just like the final thing that like creates makes the crack and creates the flood. Um, but we all, I mean, it's interesting because you're bringing up an issue. So many of us. Who engage in kind of humanitarian work and like activism and whatever it is that we're doing, like these people, they tend to suffer burnout very easily and get overwhelmed and discouraged and stuff, because we're faced with so much negativity. We're always uh, getting ridiculed and criticized and stuff like that, and so it just gets to a point like there's only so much you can take, and I think that there's this reoccurring theme that people who are doing kind of the benevolent work, the good works in this world, need to take a break and really rejuvenate and kind of like focus on themselves and get their emotions and thoughts and feelings sorted out and strengthened before they can get back in and and fight the good fight. And I was just talking to my friend Toby about this just now, that this is kind of part of the reason, the camping trip. I mean, hopefully, I'll be able to just relax. Last time I went camping, I was with a friend who drove me crazy, and I'm glad I went with him. But he was just the biggest pain in the ass, and I couldn't really relax. It's kind of like when I'm doing Cube, when I'm doing street activism with Anonymous the Voiceless. I never get to just relax. It's a continuous thing of just trying to maintain the aesthetic of the Cube, doing the outreach, relieving people, giving people breaks, switching people around, um, maintaining the table. I need to get to a point where I can delegate and have roles, have positions for each of these duties, so it's not just me. And that'll come in time, as the group grows and strengthens as we get more people. But yeah, it's we're always, I mean, we're going, and then we always feel guilty when we're not doing enough. But it's like we're doing more than what like 85% of the population is doing right now. Like most people, all they do is like literally work, pay their bills, provide for themselves, and then they just give themselves some entertainment, occupy themselves. Most are tied down with families and children and stuff. And so on one level, we can argue that's the greatest job, that's the greatest responsibility, right? They should totally focus on that they have that obligation to their kids. On another level, it's like it's kind of a waste of time. It's what everyone is doing, and it's what's contributing to the overpopulation and all the problems that we have. So my point is, like, very few people are sort of taking this alternative route, like going, counterculture, and actually just devoting their lives to a specific cause, a specific um, a specific charity or whatever it is. Like, I mean, I'm thinking of like Mother Teresa, but she wasn't really a saint. She had her issues too. But like in principle, like the life of Mother Teresa, what she was supposed to represent, there's very few people who are doing that, just dedicating themselves to a cause. I'm thinking of Jane Goodall, Diane Fossey with the gorillas and the chimps, like these people, Jacques Cousteau. These are great individuals, who literally, they saw the need, and they had a passion, and they had a belief that they just pursued, and they let their lives just revolve around it. Steve Irwin was a great example. I love that man. I don't care what anybody says. Like, he was one of the most incredible human beings ever lived in my lifetime. He was such a hero of mine. He was so passionate about the animals, and he was so in love with his reptiles and just all animals in general, and did so much good in educating the public, and conservation and learning the biology of these animals. So there's just very few people who are doing that. So my point of all this is, we're doing it, and then we feel bad when we can't do it. But like, we're devoting our lives to it, and other people will think about these things, like, occasionally, or they'll occasionally donate to charity and stuff like that. Like so we're actually doing so much more than we realize, but it's because that's just our personalities. For me, I'm kind of a workaholic perfectionist, and I never sleep. So
it's true. See, that's the thing is, there's very few people, like you mentioned, who actually have a cause. I mean, whatever the cause may be, very few people actually even do that. Very few people, like, even if it's just something like a career or a hobby, something like that, very few people even do that. Like, if somebody wants to be a musician of some sort, or some sort of artist or whatever, very few people even do that. Instead, they just do what everyone else does. The same old. They go through school, and then they go to college, and they get married. They have a bunch of kids. They work some job they hate until their dying day. Like it's like
it's the rat race, and it's just being a cog in the wheel, so to speak. And I was just listening to Pink Floyd, The Wall. if you listen to that song, the video, it says it really, it really it speaks to this. But yeah, like, so the point is, like, I guess the takeaway is, if you're involved in some form of activism, I mean, you're already doing more than what most people are doing. So it's just like when someone's struggling with depression. Don't set up unrealistic expectations on yourself, and set yourself up for disappointment, because, like, literally, just do what you're capable of doing, like, and that's it. And don't worry about the rest. Like, do what you can. That's all. And like I was trying to admonish you to take a break and go out to the park, and just spend some time out in nature and get some fresh air, and a little bit of exercise. I mean, that helps. It releases endorphins and stuff in your brain, and literally helps you think more clearly. So I need that, like, especially. I mean, I really need that. I really need to really get back in touch with my own spirituality, which is entrenched in nature, in the natural world. And I spend so much time online. I spend so much time dealing with the public, and interacting with people, and I don't even like most people. So I'm doing things that are completely counterintuitive to my personality, but I'm doing them for ethical reasons.
Yeah, same here, brother. Same here. And here's the thing, like, because for the most part, I really don't enjoy socializing with people, which is kind of a bizarre thing, because it may not appear that way at first, because because of the conversations I have done over all these years with all these people, doing podcasts and stuff, but it's always been towards some goal. It's been the goal, like, I interact with people in order to try to educate them about things, and the one exception to that is, like, for example, usually on Monday nights, I actually go over to my friend Lucas's house. He works at Hy-Vee, but he is 2 streets down from me, and so we play video games at his house and stuff, and that's like the one thing that I do that it's like just pure fun, where I'm doing something with somebody, but it's not a debate, it's not a podcast, it's not any kind of a agenda there. We're just having fun.
Yeah, yeah.
And I realize how little of that I have had in my life. Like I hardly ever just have fun with somebody.
Yeah, it's a shame because, and it's disheartening because then there are people who literally spend 24/7 laughing and joking, and they're just hanging out and socializing with their friends, and everything is recreation. I mean, they go to work and whatever, but everything is like, they're continuously pursuing that, like social life, social interaction, and that kind of
Yeah,
frivolousness.
and what's interesting about that, Pafo, is on that end of the extreme, yeah, I would agree. A lot of people are on that end. What they're always doing is they're looking for stimulation. They're always looking for having some fun, and they'll do anything for that. They do that. They do that by going out and drinking at bars with a bunch of other weirdos and just doing crazy stuff. And they're in this like mode of excitement like all the time. And then when they don't have that going on, then they feel like they have to have that constantly. It's
Yeah,
weird.
yeah. Because it's kind of an escape, and there's an addictive quality to it. So I've seen friends that do this, and they just have to always be talking to somebody. They have to always be doing something. Um, and then when they don't have it, they're sort of like jonesing for it. I'm like that on a certain level with intellectual stimulation. I literally can't wash my dishes unless I'm listening to music, or I'm listening to a podcast or a debate. I have to have something like to occupy my mind, not like as a distraction, but I don't know how to explain this, but just something to occupy my mind so that I'm not just focused on the stupid dishes.
Yeah.
Like the mundane, like for me, the mundane and the things that are like just the everyday chores and shit like that are just so tedious to me that like I always have to have some kind of emotional or intellectual stimulation. Otherwise, I have no motivation to do it. I have no desire. I'm not lazy. I'm just like I'm just fueled by by my thoughts and feelings. So it's almost like I have to be inspired to I have to be in a state of inspiration constantly just to function. I don't know, inspiration's not the right
Yeah.
word. I just gotta
Yeah.
be stimulated,
Yeah, see, here's the thing with me, and this is kind of a funny thing, Pafo. Like, I do not generally, I don't like to listen to things unless I'm doing something else. Like, I get bored just listening to something. I like to be doing something. I mean, I can enjoy a good movie and stuff sometimes if I'm getting into the story enough. But for the most part, I like to be playing video games where like I'm doing something and figuring out how do I optimize my crops? Like how many crops can I grow in this area in this game?
Minecraft.
And
I just saw
yeah,
we were looking at board games, and I saw the Minecraft. It's like the board game though, and I thought about you.
yeah, it's funny. Yeah, because like there's Minecraft and then there's Stardew Valley and it's just really kind of funny these farming games. And I'm like, okay, let's see what can I plant here and grow and then sell. And it's like I don't know, for some reason there's a mental stimulation there that's
Yeah.
incredible. I mean, just consider all the people who are Farmville addicts. You probably heard of that.
Yeah,
People.
Amber used to play it, and I never understood. It was this little virtual world. She would, yeah, and she would have like different crops, and I never understood it, but yeah, she was in that for a long time, and I'm like, it's a weird thing because okay, see, like I'll be honest, I kind of like look down in probably in a not in a good way, in a condescending way, on people who just play video games. Like people who are just gamers, I'm just like, what a fucking waste of time. Like there's so much shit that we need to be doing right now, and you're playing video games. But at the same time, I guess people could say the same thing about films,
Yeah.
or reading Lovecraft stories, or whatever it is
Yeah.
that I do when I like watching Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Like I need that escape. I need that, but it's not just recreational for me because I get messages through those films. I get inspired. It causes me to reflect on my own life. So at all
Yeah.
times, even when I'm sort of escaping and trying to occupy myself and seek some form of pleasure, I'm still it's still affecting me in a way that motivates me in some, you know what I'm saying? It's never just mindless entertainment. I don't believe in mindless entertainment. Like because we have minds, and my mind is always going. So like I just never get the whole thing of people that get
Yeah.
so into like, you know, gaming and stuff, and I'm like, but it's a video game. You're just
Yeah.
sitting there. You're just sitting there playing a video game. Like you're not doing anything. You're not actually benefiting anyone. Like it's a complete waste of time.
Well,
So
it's
I'm like
interesting.
double-sided. I have like, you know,
Yeah.
I have mixed
Well,
feelings.
here's an interesting way of looking at it, Pafo, is, you know, people look at that when they look at the things other people do, but then they all have their things that they like to do that helps them, you know. Like it's kind of like, for example, somebody could say about somebody who's like let's say that they play a musical instrument or whatever, you
That's
know.
different. Yeah, that's different because that's a form. That's an art form. You're creating an ambiance. You're creating an aesthetic, or
Right.
you're learning a skill that you're getting good at that you can give back to the world. Like
Right.
like
But
how do video games benefit society? I mean, it used to be like
well,
the fine motor skills because you're using your hand-eye coordination. But seriously, how do video games? I get that like there's a huge market for the creation of them and like the art that goes
yeah.
into it, the digital designs and the storyboarding and all that stuff. And it's very creative and imaginative. You're literally creating like these whole worlds. But I mean, I'm talking about the practice of gaming itself, of playing a video game. What good does that do? Like anyone?
Well, here's the deal. The reason I would compare it to like playing a musical instrument, suppose a person's they're playing a musical instrument, but it's only for themselves. You know, it's just something they do to relax. It brings them pleasure, but it
Yeah.
doesn't extend beyond that. But it's still good for them, right? You know what I
Right.
mean?
It's therapeutic. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Something that's
Yeah.
therapeutic, but I just don't. Certain things that people do, certain like phone games, like the apps and stuff. I mean, there's certain games they play. I've never understood it. It's just you're just literally killing time. And I'm not, okay because here it is. I mean, this might sort of help clarify. I don't understand when someone says, "Oh God, I'm so bored. I'm so bored," and I'm like, I don't understand the concept of being bored because I always have shit to do. I always have like 10, 15, 20 projects that I'm backed
Yeah.
up on that I should be doing. I get exhausted and then I can't do anything. But there's never a moment where I'm like, oh, nothing to do. I'm so bored. I like that means I don't know, your life is too easy or you're not really making an effort to
Uh,
make
yeah,
make
I
it make
don't get that
a
either.
significant
Yeah.
impact, you know, because like so if you're doing something just out of boredom, I don't understand that. That's totally different though than doing something that's therapeutic, than that's doing something
Yeah.
to help yourself, to help ground yourself, to help kind of get balanced and reconnect. I totally understand that. That makes
Yeah.
perfect sense to me. But just doing something mindless just because you're bored, I don't get that. I think you're kind of
Yeah.
in a privileged position if that's your.
Yeah, well, I don't really know the feeling of boredom. Like that's a really weird thing. Like,
Yeah.
okay, take this for example. You know, when I was a young kid, I would like dig in the mud, and climb trees and just wacky stuff. I usually would end up getting in trouble for it. And so then later on, I had to like go to the creek far away from where we lived in a residential area, because that's the only place you can climb a tree without somebody yelling at you. It's like it's so stupid. People should be allowed to climb trees.
Kids, especially kids, absolutely should. They should be fostered and encouraged to to do things that are physical and explore their environments. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing because, in a sense, like here's how I would compare it. You take the stuff that I used to do at the creek, irrigating the water, smashing the rocks open, and looking at the sparkly crystals inside, and climbing trees and transplanting crabgrass. That was the fun
Oh,
part.
wait, you had geodes? You found geodes as a kid, like the geode rock formation with the crystals inside?
Oh yeah, yeah. Like here's the deal: is like there would be like all these enormous rocks. Like I actually heard that area like used to be an Indian reservation or
Like
something.
agate, like sliced agate and stuff. That's
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
that's amazing.
yeah. There's these cliffs. It's incredible. Like there's all these crystals. If you smash rocks open, there's all these shiny, sparkly crystals inside, and then there's like fossilized shells of things, and there's like this cliff. Yeah, and so like you could pull rocks out of that cliff and you can actually cause avalanches. It's crazy, man. It's a wonderful place.
It sounds cool. Yeah, I mean, I guess just you'd want the company, you'd want to have like friends, you know, meaningful relationships, somebody to share that stuff with. I guess it can get kind of lonely.
Yeah, what's interesting about it is that I could never find anyone interested in going there with me. It was bizarre. I'll tell you, man. Like I would go all the time by myself. I would try to get other people to come, but nobody else was outdoorsy. They just weren't into that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I thought that was kind of weird because I just loved it, you know. And but in a sense, what's funny about it is that like nowadays, when I'm playing Minecraft, it's a very similar experience to what was going on out there, with the exception that I'm not out in the burning, melting heat and getting bitten by the bugs and all that. So it's a little more pleasant because I don't have those negative aspects of it. But the fact that you're exploring a world and digging around and just, you know, that kind of thing is nice. And what I think is one benefit that video games have brought to the world is it keeps young people out of trouble. It really keeps people out of trouble, you know, because when they're obsessed with that, then that means, you know, they're not as likely to go seeking social situations where they're gonna like end up doing drugs or having sex with a bunch of weirdos.
Or it could be the opposite, and they're out like, you know, carjacking people because they've been playing too much Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
You know?
Now, Grand Theft Auto.
You
Okay,
know,
Yeah.
life imitates art. You know, so there's all these like
Yeah.
looking for prostitutes and trying
Yeah.
to
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Let's distinguish between genres of video games, okay? Because Grand Theft Auto or the Driver series of games or the first-person shooters and stuff like that, I hate those types of things. I really do. Like, I don't like that. I don't like games where you're enacting stealing people's cars or whatever. So basically, like I always stuck pretty much to the games that were, you know, G-rated, or I think they call them E-rated for video games, whereas G-rated for movies. You know, E for everyone. You know, it's like we're talking back in the old days, which I mean the 80s. In the 80s and the 90s, those are the old days for me. You're a little
my
bit older,
childhood.
so that,
Yeah.
yeah. So, but you know what I'm talking, like, you know, the NES, the Super NES, the original Game Boy. We're talking where you're just Mario rescuing the princess. The most violence that happens is jumping on Goombas, maybe, you know, or like Kirby's Adventure, where you know you just eat everything, and it's like it's just the cutest stuff. You know, and those were the good old days, you know. All of this modern stuff with, you know, PlayStation, whatever, however many numbers are up by now, and Xbox, like these modern 3D games where they look realistic and you have people look like they're shooting people, and you've got all these nude women on these video games. Of course, they're digital, but they look real. I mean, I've never got into that because, first of all, like I had like everything prior to the year 2000, basically. Pretty much all the systems from the 80s and 90s. I had it all, man, and then I gave it all away to my ex best friend Tosh when I went in the Navy.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, you know, getting back to that whole thing with Daniel, you should, you know, don't take it with a grain of salt, man. Don't take any of that stuff personally. And literally, if you're you know, if you're feeling like discouraged and stuff and getting down on yourself, then just get back into the things that you love. I mean, if you love video
Yeah.
games, then play video games. If you love, you know, whatever it is, you know, creating designs, doing like digital artwork and stuff, do that. Like whatever it is that brings you happiness and fulfillment, you should do, because, I mean, you know, in my eyes, you're like a humanitarian. You're doing so much good. So, you know, take some time for yourself and do what needs to be done to get your you know, your spirits back in, you know, in the right state of mind. It's necessary, man, and that's not, you know, that's not selfish, and it's like the problems aren't going to go away. You know, they're still going to be there. And like if you're, you know, if you're not whole and you're not like grounded and fulfilled, in your own life, like with yourself, then you're not going to really be any good to anybody else. And for the animals or the planet or whatever, you have to be like stable and grounded and complete in a sense.
Yeah.
Even though we're all evolving and changing and striving to grow and and become more and better. You got to be happy with yourself. And if you're not happy with your life, you're not happy with your environment, then you got to make those changes, man.
Yeah, yeah. You know what's interesting? Yeah, is that in order to it's not just enough to do writing and speaking and stuff like that. People have to see you as a happy, fulfilled person. That's what I'm realizing. They need to see you as a fulfilled person who's happy with your life, because otherwise, if they just see you as like this depressed person who's just upset and pessimistic all the time, that's not very attractive. And I know that. That's the thing about it.
I'm working on this. I know I kind of have a grumpy exterior. I'm from LA, so I'm used to like having to kind of just stay guarded and just dealing with so much bullshit. And like I generally I come off sort of melancholy, and I've noticed this. Like I have like a kind of intensity about me, but it's not like a friendly intensity. Like I need to work on my facial expressions and kind of being more more amiable and I don't know what the word is, but because
or just wear the mask. Just wear the mask all the time.
That's a different role. See, I'm doing outreach all the time now. I don't do the mask. Everybody else, they do the mask, and I'm talking to the public. But what I've realized is it's not necessarily what I say. It's how I say it. It's not necessarily my words. I could be spitting out the most benevolent and altruistic message of truth, but like it's my tone and my inflection and my facial expressions. That's what, because we're social animals, so that's what people pick up on. So I got to work on I don't know what you'd call that, like etiquette. Go to etiquette class and work on and being like more of an amiable personality. Like I smile and laugh with friends, but it's very rare that you'll see me like smiling in public or just friendly acting, because I'm just used to people not being friendly to me. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
And so like in Portland, everybody smiles, everybody acknowledges you. They look at you and they do that kind of like fake smile. They're like, they smile like hey, like they acknowledge you, and I'm not used to that. I'm used to people just like not making eye contact. I'm used to people not speaking English, not acknowledging you at all, not looking at you. So I kind of developed sort of that same sort of grumpy exterior, and I need to like I need to like shed that, because I'm not used to it. I'm not used to people being nice. I'm not used to people looking you in the eye. So I got to work on that. And I guess that's just about like, as I develop more friends and my social life sort of expands and grows, the more I interact with people, I'll be more personable. But I mean, because it goes back to my personality. I'm not really a happy-go-lucky guy. I enjoy things. I laugh. I can make people laugh. But generally I'm pretty serious. And Amber says this all the time. I mean, I'm too serious. I'm just like I don't have a sense of humor, because she's like uber sarcastic. She's like always sarcastic, and that's how she actually copes with her anxieties and her depression using humor, which is a mature coping mechanism. And I don't. I've coped with my negativity and my pessimism with intellectual stimulation, as we were saying before, with like learning things, delving deep into like history and metaphysics and philosophy and religion and really obscure like esoteric subjects and concepts and themes. So that doesn't make for like the nicest, friendliest person in a conversation, but that's how I've coped. It's a form of compensation, is using the other parts of my brain and always thinking and contemplating and being very sort of introspective and analytical. So it's just these are the ways that we cope, I guess.
Yeah, and there's a personality element to it. Like we're just a certain way more than another. And I see that, And that's the thing is I tend to be very just withdrawn, introverted, and serious. But I've had a lot of practice working at Hy-Vee. I got to smile at everybody. It's kind of part of the job. So, I end up smiling just to.
I always hated retail jobs. I always hated having to put on the fake. Like I worked at a video store. I worked at a clothing store. I couldn't stand it. I was never it was. I actually was sort of reprimanded a lot for that I couldn't, because I can't be fake. This is something like you may have picked up on this with me. Like if there's one thing that I can't do, that I don't, it's really difficult for me. I can't not be like forthright. I can't keep stuff inside. I can't not. I sort of just wear my heart on my sleeve, and I can't be fake. I can't be pretentious. I don't even know if I have the capacity to be pretentious. Like I don't even think that way. I don't think in sort of scheming, lying, and sort of being phony to get what I want. I don't even know how to do that. So I'm like honest to a fault. Like it's not a good thing, because I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what makes it hard.
What?
Yeah. See, and I don't like that aspect either, that I have to. I don't like that aspect either, that I have to put on a happy face for my job. I don't like that either, because it still does feel fake. And yet, I think that's the thing about it with me, Pafo, is that I've realized that everybody has a facade going on, just about, because that's how you survive. Like, how many people, like the way I am in my rant videos, where I'm just going off and just ranting, just not with no particular.
I love those.
I know. What?
She loves those because they're so honest. You're so sincere and honest and like just truthful. She says you're like one of the most honest, sincere people she's ever met, she's ever seen.
Yeah. See, those videos, those are me exploding, because I have to hold this all in the rest of the time. So then I have to go out somewhere else and explode. And it's difficult to do that, because I realize I can't just do that. I can't do that at my job. I really can't just, explode at home, because then my mother would have to put up with that, and I can't just explode and go off on some big emotional thing about all my deep thoughts and feelings when we do podcasts either, because we're trying to stay on topic. So I've realized that when I'm allowed to finally just let loose and just say it all, man, that's people.
But the podcast, when you do those solo videos, to me, you're just expounding on your thoughts and feelings that you do express in the podcast. Like I'm saying, why don't you just direct it into the podcast? Because if you spoke like that, you would have more creative control over the podcast, over the shows. Like that's what we've always talked about, is all you need to do is speak your mind more often, and instead of always giving the floor to your co-host and saying, no, this is how I feel about this. This is the direction I'd like to take this, because these are my thoughts and feelings. These are my ideals, and I'm putting it out there. You can agree or disagree, but you never do that. You kind of sit back and you stay neutral, and then you interject, and you're great. You're a great moderator like that. But why don't you just merge the two and make those rants, make that, just keep that personality, let that be your persona in the podcast.
Yeah, that's the thing about it, is I've never been able to do that. That's a weird thing, because for some reason, when there's a bunch of other people present,
so that you feel like there's like a barrier there because there's other people.
Because here's the thing is that, like, for example, I got trained this way from an early age. Like back when I was in elementary school, or back when I was in church, or whether I'm at my job, I'm around all these other people, and I will be punished if I let loose my true thoughts and feelings. Every time, that's what would happen,
That's really unhealthy.
Yeah, and so that's what I realized, is that, I'm incredibly scared of people getting mad at me and yelling at me and wanting to fight me and that sort of thing. So that's
Chandler, let's figure it out right now, okay? On your show, on your podcast, it's your show, okay? that is the time for you to open up and say exactly what you think and feel. You have nothing. You have nothing to worry about. Like we're not religious authority figures. We're not your parents. We're your peers. You know what I'm saying? We're friends. We're like fellow philosophers and stuff. So like you don't have to be afraid of the of the backlash or whatever when you speak your thoughts and feelings and you really go deep like that. I think it would revive your passion for doing the podcasts, because that's what's always like been the issue, is that you're stifled. You're giving the floor to everybody else, and you say, well, I want to keep it that way. I want to let everybody talk and whatever. Well, as we've found out, what good is it letting other people talk if the subjects and themes and the positions that they are promoting are antithetical? They're the if they are antithetical to what you are trying to espouse, then what good is it? I mean, it's not a positive thing. So you need to interject more of you into the show, and I think you'll find more enjoyment in it, because it's like a decompression action. You're letting it out instead of keeping it all in, because there were times when you kept a lot of shit in when it came to George and stuff he was saying, and that messed you up. I remember.
Yeah.
That. So what are you just you're with us because we're not going to judge you, and this is the time for you to actually talk and speak your thoughts. Are you just afraid of the conflict, the confrontation of arguing with us? You don't want to argue with us?
Yeah. Well, yeah, see, that's the thing about it, is I do not handle confrontation at all. Like I can't even handle like say that Yuri guy, he gets me so frustrated. Like I just get so frustrated, and then I completely lose my logical mindset. I'm just like, duh, you knew what's right and wrong. You're just denying it, you liar. Like if I really let loose, I'd just yell at him, and then I would be the monster. See, because then I'd just be yelling.
It's about controlling your emotions and about keeping your emotions back. I understand.
Because I can get very explosive, you see. And
yeah. Do you remember, Chandler? I'm not going to bring it up now, but I'm not going to bring it up in specifics. But do you remember there was a time when we had a conversation that was very it was very, very, very personal, and I sort of called you out on some things. We don't have to bring it up, but I'm just saying in general.
Right.
Talk about in general. I kind of called you out on some things, and it was very, very personal. But I did it in such a way I was respectful, and I tried to let you know that, I'm just telling you this because I'm your friend and blah blah blah. And then I could see that you were getting like emotional and sort of defensive and whatever. And there was like there was tension there. There was tension, but we maintain like mutual respect for each other. Let's see, where am I going with this? That is what needs to happen in order for growth. Like in order for anybody to grow, they have to come up against opposition. There has to be some conflict, and then they either dig their heels in and they defend their position, they stay the way they are, or they actually evolve, and it actually helps them to it opens them up to new perspectives. So think about that, and remember, some of the angles that I was trying to, the things I was trying to address and the way I was looking at it and how you felt emotionally. I knew that you felt emotional, but I didn't let up because I thought it was important. It needed to be said. Do you remember? Just so I know we're not.
Well, the thing is, I can't remember exactly what you're talking about because you're trying to be vague, and so
yeah. Okay.
So I don't remember exactly which scenario it is. So
clear to
Yeah.
Okay. Here, this is subject because we talk about it. You talk about it in public all the time. The reason that you're asexual, the reasons that you're asexual, and your negative view of sex. Okay, remember that? And we had that conversation, and I was trying to get to the core of maybe why you felt that way, and that these experiences actually may have been maybe what's influencing you to have this sort of blanket, generalized view that maybe that may be a little too extreme. It may be directly linked to your negative experiences. So that's what I'm talking about. And
Yeah.
my point of all that is, that was as personal as we could possibly go, man. And but I kept talking to you, and you listened, and then, you know, whether you thought about it or not, we we progressed, we carried on. So all I'm saying is, what's the worst that can happen? It's Jamie, it's George, it's WSD, it's me, it's Trick. You know, it's, you know us, like like we know each other. Like nobody's gonna shut anybody down, and nobody should.
Well, George does.
I was gonna say, okay, I was gonna say, ideally, like, no one is gonna shut anybody down or hinder them from speaking their thoughts, speaking their mind. And if they do, this was the caveat I was gonna give. And if they do, then they shouldn't be on the show.
Yeah.
So like, there you go. Like make it your show again, and speak your mind to everybody, and let it be, for at least for a little while, you know. But just bring a little more Chandler into the show. You know, let it be the Chandler show for a while. And why not? You know, I mean, what it's not really, what, as you said, what good is it doing now, letting everyone speak and talk about all these crazy pseudo intellectual subjects and themes, which are interesting. You know, they're sort of mental exercises, but I don't see the altruistic benefit. I don't see the tangible, you know, result coming out of that. So, you know, where my focus is and what I'd like to always talk about.
Yeah. And see, what's interesting is the fewer people there are, the easier it is.
Yeah, well, that's just sort of the logistics of the show. That just needs to remain a rule, that we can't have 10 people on at the same time, you know?
Yeah, and so here's the thing about it is, I've found that, you know, when we've done like these hangouts where it's just been you, or maybe you and Gaius or Angie, or, you know, like just a few of these, like when you've got like these pantheist vegans who are all so on the same page already.
Yeah.
That always turns out being really good.
I mean,
you know?
and we don't want to, you want to avoid it being a sounding board where we're all just kind of, you know, agreeing with each other, like blowing smoke up each other's ass and just kind of preaching to the choir. We don't want that. But at the same time, our personalities are so different that I don't even think that'll happen, because we actually have different approaches, different methodology, you know. So but yeah, like limit it to at least, you know, 2-3 people, like 3 people, maybe 4 if it's like WSD, because he just kind of chimes in, you know, briefly. But I would say 3 people tops is the most you know, productive like amount of guests, I think.
Yeah, that's the thing, is there definitely are ways to make it better if I do continue it up again in the future, you know. And that's
no pressure. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. You've already got the legacy of how many videos, how many podcasts, how many shows, like 500 or something, right?
Actually, it's pretty close to that when I think about it, you know, just because it's been so long we've been doing this. And, you know, it's interesting because I just think, you know, it's actually been a lot, but knowing, I guess, like I think about this, like eventually at some point, everything comes to an end. You know what I mean? Like there always has to be an end to something. Like for example, The Matrix was good, all right. The sequels to The Matrix were not so good compared to the first. It's like
the sequels were good in their own right, in their own way.
Yeah, but they
end of the world, more action, more fight scenes, but they were almost unnecessary because the first one told such a great story. Yeah,
right.
It's a money making thing, you know. It's Hollywood.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting because what's interesting is like this same thing. It happens with movies. It happens with video games. Like there'll be a few good ones in a series, but then after a certain point, it declines into
Terminator movies. I mean, I love Emily Clark. You know, she plays Daenerys in Game of Thrones, but there was another Terminator movie, and I'm like, they're just wearing. It's just worn out, man. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger is old. It doesn't make sense. Like,
Arnold Schwarzenegger's old.
yeah, you wear out your welcome. I mean, the Supernatural show, I think there's been way too many seasons. Um, like X-Files, the same thing happened to X-Files. Like the greatest shows were like in maybe the 4th or 5th season, and then they should have stopped it when it was really strong, and they just kind of stretched on. Because it's like, well, if they can do it, why not do it? It's more money, you know. Just keep making sequels, keep making
Right.
money. Like I want to see Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man, but I'm almost like, ugh, you know, that like they've changed the actor so many times, and it's like I've lost like that motivation, that incentive. I mean, I think the actor did a great job in the last Avengers movie and stuff, but I don't know. So yeah, you don't want to overkill. So take a break if you want.
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, is everybody like, yeah, people just need a break, and it's sort of like after a while that of a break from something, then it can be reborn as something new and better than ever.
Right.
Yeah.
And because there's something else. You weren't just doing the philosophy, science, religion. You were also doing
Yeah. I was doing the free will, science, religion. I was doing the impersonal opinion, and of course, there's this celibate vegan voices about
celibate vegan. I don't want to say atheist, but celibate vegan friends. Yeah.
Yeah.
You had 3 or 4 different shows going on there that a lot of people might not know about. So that wears you out, man. You're just trying to you're spreading yourself thin. So.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, you know, of course, I've always been sort of an overachiever.
Yeah, it goes right back to like what I talked about in the beginning, man. Personalities.
Yeah, you would be surprised just the level I go to when it comes to my geometric art, the level of perfectionism. I've stressed myself out just trying to make my geometric designs perfect. Like I've done this with.
Put all that energy, put all that focus and attention and energy into making yourself happy and making yourself feel good and literally like rejuvenating yourself and giving yourself exactly what you need, like, you know, your me time. Put all that energy and focus and emphasis on that, because you have to be stable and grounded and secure and, you know, and fulfilled in your own way in order to do any good. So it's just as important as all that other stuff that you're doing.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I took over, you know, doing the organization that I'm involved with now. I took over because the former organizer had a lot of emotional problems. He had some serious, you know, psychological, emotional, mental issues that he was dealing with, and he just split himself down the middle, where his life was sort of falling apart. You know, but at the same time, he was just really committed and dedicated to do this activism, and he held it together for like a long time. But it was like it finally just caught up with him that like he wasn't, because what do I always say, man? It was all about balance, and he wasn't in balance. You know, he didn't have the correct balance between you know, his personal life and his volunteer work. You know, his charity work, I guess. So it's important, man. It's all about like you know, keeping things you know, keeping your focus, but like literally remembering that we're multifaceted and we have needs. You know, if I mean, I always say I don't sleep, right? But obviously I sleep at some point in time. I just don't sleep regularly. I take naps. You know, I have like, I just get so tired I pass out, and then I wake up maybe 5-10 minutes later.
Yeah.
And then I'll just keep going. But that's how I sleep. I sleep in small kind of shifts. So the point of it is like, if I slept more, you know, if I could get a good night's sleep, if I was more balanced in that area, I'd probably be healthier. I'd probably have more clarity, more focus, you know. But just gotta we gotta be balanced in every area of our lives, you know. Like you can't be eating junk food and crap, but talking about, you know, saving the animals and the health, you know, all the health benefits of veganism. Right. If like called him Trick, his favorite food is potato chips. I asked him once what his favorite food was, and he goes, I don't know, chips. And I'm like, that's your go-to? That's all you could think of? I don't. So I don't know, man. Like,
I gotta admit, I like chips too.
Yeah, I mean, I like pretzels and crackers and stuff. But like,
well, basically, I like almost anything salty. it can be
Yeah.
pretzels, it can be chips, it can be peanuts or cashews, like whatever. It could be anything, but as long as it's got some salt,
I
salt
think
is like
yeah,
better than
I
sugar
like
for
a lot of
me.
salt too. I like a lot of salt too. I put sea salt on everything because I don't use table salt. It's really really bad for you. But I use sea salt or the Himalayan salt has the best minerals and stuff in it. What was I gonna say? I think the point I was trying to get at was if you're like fat and overweight and unhealthy and your face is covered in zits, you got to be really careful about saying this. But if you don't look healthy, people aren't going to listen to you if you're talking about health. So you
Yeah.
might have a glandular problem. You might have, acne, you have a hormonal problem or something. It might have nothing to do. You might have a really good diet. But the point is, like, you want to represent, like, a balanced individual so that everything is like, so people can't, like, point a finger and say, see, because people are always going to try and, like,
Yeah.
discredit you and fame you. So it's really important that, your personal life and your health and all these other things are all like in alignment with your core values. That's all I'm trying to say, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, and with me, like I've been aware of that for a long time actually. And see, the thing with me is that like I have this I have this kind of reputation I'm trying to build here actually. And here's what I mean is like, okay, by now, a lot of people at Hy-Vee, they know I'm vegan, but and so they but then what's cool is they see how strong I am. I'm so strong and healthy, because I'm eating great pretty much, and I take my vitamins. Did you know Jamie even sends me awesome vitamins? He's so nice.
Yeah,
Like,
he's really, yeah, he's really giving, and when it comes to that stuff, he sends people like
yeah.
all kinds.
But yeah, see, I tell people that I eat like a horse, and I mean it quite literally because horses are herbivores. It's interesting, but like I even though I've never been one for appearance all that much, I would have to say that I probably do look fairly good, and I've got some muscle, and people see me walking, carrying groceries. I walk and run everywhere, and like I did the 5K, and oh man, I gotta tell you, I don't know if I told you this, but I was shaking it off Taylor Swift style. Okay, so first we run this 5K. It was me and a bunch of other people. They were actually all from like different Hy-Vee stores. It's kind of like the Hy-Vee sponsors this event, whatever. So, but then after that, they had some food there. I was eating, some bananas, oranges, apples, that sort of thing, drinking lots of water because I just ran that thing. But so then they've got this music playing. And they get, you know who Taylor Swift is, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so then they've got Shake It Off by Taylor Swift playing through this loudspeaker. So I go up right there to where I'm just about in front of it. Hardly anyone else is around. And then I just start dancing like crazy to that. And then before long, all these cheerleaders come because they have these weird cheerleaders. They're in the outfit. They've got their dresses or skirts. They've got their pom poms. They're shaking and all that. So then all these teenage girls are these cheerleaders. Then they all start coming dancing with me. It was like the most beautiful moment. Like seriously, it was so funny because
Did
we're
they
all
film
just.
it? Did anybody film it?
Well, there was actually somebody doing that, but I think they just kept it for their own private enjoyment. Like that would be so awesome that if
Ask me for that video.
yeah, I wish I knew who that was.
So you're saying that even though you're breaking the vegan stereotype of being anemic and lacking protein because you're very energetic and
Right. Yeah.
robust,
Yeah.
you can run a marathon and you can dance afterwards. That's what you're saying.
Exactly. Because that's just it. People see me at work, then they see me dancing and running running these events and stuff like. So for me, I mean, a lot of it is because I have fun doing it, but then there's a certain element where I want to show people just what I'm capable of, because they need to, when they find out I'm vegan and they find out I can do all this, I'm stronger and have more energy than them when they're just eating all these animal products. I'm hoping that that will sway some people from the health side of it to at least consider veganism, and then from there on they may learn what it's really about. It's not just about health. That's a nice benefit, but man, it's really the ethics side of it.
Yeah, this is great. That's a great approach. Great
It's one
testimony.
form of activism.
Totally. Yeah, totally. I was just thinking of what you were saying about that they know I'm vegan. I wish there was another word. I mean, because it's like, it's not that you're something odd and something weird.
Yeah,
It's
it's
that
that they are carnists.
we're living in a culture that enslaves and mutilates and tortures and murders animals for money, for profit,
Mm-hmm.
for unnecessarily, to feed people, when millions of people are starving because we could be feeding the grain that we feed to the animals to them, but they're the odd ones out. I wish there was another name, another word for it. Instead of saying I'm vegan, why don't you say no, I don't eat that because I love animals, because I'm trying to live a compassionate life. I'm trying to abstain
Yeah.
from harming other sentient beings that have the same capacity for pain as you and I.
Yeah.
Just explain it in a sentence. Instead of saying the word vegan, just explain it in a brief sentence and say, no, I don't drink, fluid from another animal's body that's harvested through pain and suffering. Just say that, and they'll start to get a clearer picture, because most people don't even know what veganism means. They think it's a shortened form. I just heard somebody a few days ago say, "Oh, I thought it just meant like it was a short form of the word vegetarian. I thought it was the same thing." And I'm like, "No, dude." I'm like, "There's so much more to it." So
Yeah.
I think it would really help to just talk about veganism without using the word vegan, and
Yeah.
help people be like, you know, you wouldn't kick or abuse a dog, right? And they're like, yeah, sure, of course not. And they're like, well, neither would I. And that's why I don't pay other people to kick and abuse pigs. And that's why I don't take part in the rape and insemination of cows to drink their mammary secretions.
Yeah, and it's awesome, and I
And
wish I could.
then you'll probably hear,
Yeah, I wish I could
they'll
think as
probably,
fast as you, Pafo. You say it so brilliantly. You're able to think up these things, and I'm so stupidly slow, man. I'm not able to
no,
think.
you're not slow, man. You just like you said, you just got to become more comfortable talking to people.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I get very uncomfortable around groups of
yeah, there's
people.
that. See, Taylor, you can talk just as good, if not better than me. I would honestly say you can talk better than me. You know why? Because you're totally non-self-conscious. Like, I'm much more self-conscious. Anybody will know it, and they watch my videos. I'm sort of playing with my hair. I'm kind of like, do I look like shit with bags under my eyes? I'm like, how do I sound? I think about these things. You don't worry about any of that stuff, and that actually makes you a better
Yeah.
speaker than me, because you don't worry about how you sound. So I'm saying you're a better speaker than me. The only difference is I'm not afraid of conflict. Like, I've dealt with conflict my whole life, and I'm used to it. Like, literally, I expect it. I'm kind of like the bouncer. I'm like Roadhouse guy. Patrick Swayze. It's like trouble's not. It's not something. It's not a problem if you're already prepared for it, if you're already expecting it. I expect to get shit from people. I expect I already have. I've heard all of the excuses, all the justifications already. So when they say it, I'm like, boom, I'm right. I'm on it. Like, I can dismantle their argument because I've heard it before, because I'm prepared for it. So all I'm saying is the only difference between me and you is, like, I'm not afraid of conflict, and I'm prepared for it. You know what I'm saying? But in terms of speaking, when you do your solo rants, you're saying all the same stuff I'm saying. You're saying the exact same things I say, and that's the stuff you should say on the podcast, man. When if you want to continue it. But I'm just
Yeah.
saying,
Yeah.
just
It's
fear of
interesting.
conflict that gets in the way.
Yeah, it's weird. There's something bizarre about it, because while I'm scared to like say things in public, but with other people, it's very bizarre how even though when I'm recording a video, I know that if I upload it, it could be seen by tons of people everywhere in the world. For
Yeah.
some reason, that doesn't bother me because those other people are not there. They're not there with me. So
So why don't you have that issue with me? Why are you able to talk to me?
well, you're easy, Papa. You're easy to talk to because I don't. Well, because I don't expect you to get like all hostile and mad and basically act like Daniel's acting. I know you well enough that you're not that way, and I can't say that about a lot of the other people. you know.
Yeah, I understand, and I appreciate that. I think there's a compliment in there somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere.
But, so okay, so then let's get to the core of it. So what's the worst that could happen? Like you're literally you're behind a computer screen. You're protected. You're safe. You're not in any physical harm. You're not in any physical danger. What is the worst that could happen? Somebody could say you're ugly. You're a nerd. Your ideas are stupid. I don't agree with you. Blah 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 blah. You're an idiot. I mean, I could probably think of the absolute worst thing to say to you. And here's the point. So what? So what? It's just words. Like it's literally just audible signals coming through the screen at you. There's power in words, in ideas. There's power in ideas. Like as V from Vendetta says, ideas are bulletproof. But only if you believe them. Only if you believe them and take them to heart yourself. So this goes right back to what the issue was this week.
Yeah.
You actually stopped and considered what Daniel was saying, and that's how he had power over you. That's how it affected you. So I would have heard what he said to me, and I would have said, yeah, that's a bullshit argument. That's anti-natalists hear that all the time.
Yeah.
And I would not have taken it to heart. I would have said, well, I was close to killing myself at one point in time, but I don't feel like I no longer feel that way. And now that I'm thinking clearly, I just like as we established on that last show that we did, I feel that I can do some good while I'm here. So why would I want to end my life prematurely? That's it. I would just explain it to. The point is, I wouldn't take it personally.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't let it affect me because I know that it's just words. Now, if I'm already feeling like shit, if I'm feeling down on myself, if I'm not happy, if I'm not fulfilled, if I'm already believing the lies in my own head, if I'm hearing my own inner critic say, you're worthless, your life has no meaning, you have no purpose, you're a piece of shit, you're not helping anybody, you're no good to anybody, you're ugly, you're fat, you're lazy. Look, here. If someone said to me, Papa, you're old. You're old, and you're out of shape, and girl, you're never gonna get another. If your girlfriend leaves you, you're never gonna get another girlfriend because you're not attractive anymore. You've passed your prime. That's a little bit. That's hard. That's hard for me to.
Yeah, that's something that you might take.
Because I think there's some truth in it. There's probably some truth there. So if someone said it to me, I'd be like, you're probably right, but what can I do? So what I'm saying is It depends on what it is and whether or not you believe it, whether it actually has validity or not. But when we're talking about the podcast, we're talking about philosophies. We're talking about ideas. We're talking about ethics and morality and spirituality and metaphysics. And these things have nothing to personally do with you. You can separate. You can talk about the ideas themselves. Daniel is actually struggling with this right now because everything that we say to him, he's taking to heart. He's taking personally. That's why he's reacting so defensively. That's why he's so hostile because he's taking.
You're right, Pafo, and here's what's going on. I can see this now. See now, while I sort of took personally his statements about me doing people a favor and killing myself because of my suicidal past and how I already have felt like that at many stages in my life. Sometimes I still do, I feel that way. So I took that part personally. But Daniel, what he's doing is he's taking nearly everything that we've said as if it's some personal thing against him.
Absolutely.
So in a way,
we are directly challenging his life decisions and having a child and, you know, all the different things. Like, we are directly challenging him. So in a way, it's like a cheap shot, you know? He's retaliating and responding with just as much emotion and sort of you know, being crass, and I think it's also because he's from New York. It's just like a personality thing, you know, people that in the city and urban areas. But so he's taking all that personally, and he's lashing out. And I've said this to him the entire time. I keep saying this to him. I'm like, dude, you're really like, I said this earlier. I said, you're hyper vigilant. You're really defensive and hyper vigilant. Like, not everything I say is, I'm not debating with you right now. I'm just making statements. Like, we're talking about the notion of antinatalism versus whatever, versus, you know, be fruitful and multiply. And I can separate the ideas from the person. He can't do that.
Yeah.
He's very
invested. I guess you might say in general, I probably do a pretty good job of separating it, because I've been doing this for a long time, and I don't always take things this personally. You know, this was kind of just one of the things that hit me hard. And like what you mentioned earlier about if how someone said you were old or unattractive or whatever, like how that would bother you. Like, we all have our weak spot there. We all have our weak spot, something that we may not like about ourselves, or something that, that hits us hard. But yeah, it's interesting because I think I'm just sad that Daniel and so many others misunderstand what we're talking about. And
that's where Trick comes in, because Trick is our Vulcan. He's our resident Vulcan.
I know Trick is wonderful. Like, I've seen He's
so good at explaining, articulating with pure logic and reason. I love that about him.
Yeah, it's funny because, see, I'm not participating in the discussion that they've been having recently. I just leave that to Trick. He's awesome. Like, I just love reading how Trick responds. You know, he's so logical. He's just so right on, man. You know, it's awesome. But one thing that I thought was very weird is that Daniel said something about it being ableist. I don't get what.
I mentioned, do you know what ableist language is, or being an able? Okay. It's like talking down to someone because of their condition, or having a lesser value judgment of someone due to a mental illness or a physical handicap or something. So ableist language would be like, let's see, I'll give you an example. It'd be like, well, yeah, see, Chandler, I'm not going to get into this because since you're autistic, you're not going to really understand, because you're not going to pick up on the subtleties. So I'm just not even going to go there, because, you know, you have your autism and stuff. So, you know, we'll leave this for the really smart people over here. So if I said something like that, that would be really ableist, because, I'm talking to you in a condescending way and judging you based on what may be a disability, which I don't even think you have, but you say you have it. So it's that, or someone with depression. I've been accused of this. Someone with depression or bipolar disorder, okay, and they are like having an emotional meltdown, and they are like they're so hypersensitive, and they're flipping out, and I'll say something to the effect of, okay, you're not seeing reality for what it is right now. You need to take a step back, please. You know, consider you're really reactionary and defensive right now, and there's no need. And, you know, there's no need to be so hypersensitive. Just me saying that can be interpreted as being ableist. But I'm actually really knowledgeable when it comes to mental illness and stuff. I've written 2 books on the subject. So when I talk about it, I know what I'm talking about. I'm not saying it in a condescending way to belittle someone. It's because that's literally the behavior that they're exhibiting. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
But someone that. So let's get to it. What is he saying is ableist? That we're saying that about his son because his son may be autistic or something?
Yeah, that's the thing about it, is that he brought up the autism in one of his comments or something, and that's completely irrelevant, because nobody, like, I said, you haven't, Trick has, like, none of us have we ever said specific groups of people with certain disabilities should not exist, or that we should kill them. We never said anything like that.
that's social Darwinism. I mean, that's
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And people misinterpret it.
That's what the
Yeah.
Nazis were trying to do. With eugenics. That's eugenics.
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm against eugenics. I'm against social Darwinism.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. See, people misunderstand this idea. What we're saying is that it's, it causes harm no matter which group of people, the rich or the poor, or the black or the white, the autistic or the neurotypical. There's still harms imposed on each person when they're forced into this life because they can't consent to it. It's not about who has a disability or not. And this is philanthropic antinatalism. That's like the term that Trick
Oh
uses.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's why we're anti-natalist, because we care about humanity, because we care about the suffering of others.
Right.
Okay,
Exactly.
Chandler, if you'll forgive me, if you don't have anything else to say, I want to really okay, reading those last few comments between Trick and Daniel, felt like my head was going to explode. I wanted to get in there and just clarify some things, but I was like, I don't need the negativity right now. I got other shit to do, But if you'll allow me, I would like to. I may fail at this. I may fail completely, but I would like to just in maybe a few minutes, sort of summarize what's going on with them, specifically some things that I'm seeing, if that's possible. But I might actually get interrupted because my girlfriend just got home. But yeah, like if we can do that, or maybe even on a separate show, I would like to just summarize that, because it's really important. There's some things that Daniel is doing that I don't think anybody's realizing, and there's some things that Amber just got home. Say hi.
Hi. Hi.
There's some things that are happening that I'd like to sort of interject, and it would create. I think it would actually level things out a little bit, because I'm seeing their motivations, where they're both coming from, where these guys are coming from, and I guess I was a part of this discussion from the beginning, so I do have a part to play in it,
Yeah. I would like that if probably when we have time to do another hangout or something, we could go into that a little bit, because see, what I like, Paulfo, is the way that you explain to me what's going on. Like, you're able to explain to me when a person says something, what they mean by that, where it's coming from, because I have such a hard time understanding people. I don't understand their thought process.
You're sort of shallow on a certain level, where you take things at a surface level, and you have to understand, like, 85% of what people say, it's not what they really mean. They're saying it because they have a motivation, they have a motive behind it, and they have some intention. There's something they're trying to express, but the actual words they use are not always in alignment, and so it's better to help. It helps the conversation progress if you can understand what their motives are, what their real intentions are behind it. And I always ask that. And again, Daniel was like, "Oh, this is you're derailing it, or this is diversion." I'm like, "It's not a diversion. I care about people's motives. I care about where their heart's at. Like, why are you so adamant about defending this and fighting? And why are you even in this chat right now talking to us? Why is this so important to you? There must be a reason. I'd like to find out what the reason is." That's not me diverting. That's me trying to get to the core because we can get lost in semantics and arguments as you will.
See, and see, here's the thing now. I do care about understanding people's motives behind why they're doing what they're doing, but I find that it's not always easy for me to understand. That is one way in which I am disabled. But I specifically remember, there have been times where, like, one of the guys would ask George a question about, why does he promote this? Like, why is he so insistent on, his whole universe being the biblical God thing, or whatever. But he would never give a straight answer. And I always found it really weird when people are not willing to give an answer about why they care about something so much.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm transparent. I'm see-through, man. That's why I'm.
That's what I mean. You're easy. You're just very plain and straightforward and honest. And I don't see that with a lot of people.
I appreciate it, but I understand the complexities of the human mind. I understand the complexities different personality types, you know, and I just what I was going to say earlier was it's actually it's kind of an intuitive skill. I feel like I've been self-aggrandizing this whole episode or whatever, but I feel like it's an intuitive skill that some people have and some people don't have it.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of something. It's kind of a sense. You just kind of know. You just kind of get a sense, and so you just may not have that. But then Amber says that I can't pick up on sarcasm when she's being sarcastic, right? I'm too literal. No, she says I'm too literal, and I am. I'm very literal. But I'm also analytical, and I understand human psychology. So that's the part that you're saying that you could use more of. That's me being analytical and intuitive.
Right.
You know, and I guess the part she's complaining about is in social settings. I'm just like, what? Like I'm straight up. Like I just tell the truth. I just tell it like it is.
Yeah.
And I'm not really good with subtleties, I guess, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting. And another thing I'll say, I mean, there's different levels of some of our brains are wired to understand the complexity better than others. That's true. Our experiences, how much practice we've had in social interactions plays a part in it too. But there's another thing. There is a benefit to being old, Pafo. Okay, there is a benefit to being old. So being old is not such a bad thing after all. Okay, so because you're old, you've been around longer than I have. And that means that you have so many more years of experience than I don't have, and that enables you to understand people better. And that's why I learn from your elderly wisdom. Okay.
I wouldn't say that I'm smarter than you, Chandler. I just we've just had different sets of experiences, and like I've been around a lot of fucked up people. I've been in a lot of dysfunctional relationships. I've been dysfunctional. So yeah. We just learn, you know, as we have to learn in order to survive, honestly. And so we pick up these skills along the way. I had to write a book on depression to help myself out of depression, you know. So that's all my go-to has always been knowledge is power. And if we know something, if we can familiarize ourselves with something, it no longer is this looming, you know, insurmountable thing that seems overwhelming, and that's it. So anything you're struggling with, I guess I can say this to the listeners or the viewers or whatever, anything that you're struggling with, if you're having trouble with something, just learn everything there is to know about it, and learn it inside out until it's like it becomes second nature, and then it will no longer be a threat. Because once you know how to do something, once you know how something works, it loses its power over you, and you then have power over it. So I say understand how the mind works, understand human psychology, understand people, understand biology, understand how nature operates, and how your own body operates, you know, physiologically, biologically, emotionally, mentally, psychologically, all these things, and you'll have the leverage. You know, you'll have a one up on whatever situation you're facing. So there's so many different examples I could use. When things overwhelm me, when I'm stressed out or I'm getting discouraged, it's because I can't see all sides of the situation, because I don't know what the outcome's going to be, because I don't know how I'm going to accomplish something. But if I can see it in my mind, if I can envision it, okay, if I can imagine myself doing it, and I can like just visualize it, I can accomplish anything. I know this, and I'm not bragging. If I can picture myself doing something, and if I could see it in my mind, then it's done. It's like anything else, man. I like, it's literally, you just have to have the knowledge and sort of the imagination, you know, to be able to envision and see yourself doing it. And then I know that I can accomplish it. I mean, barring natural disasters or some crazy thing that gets in the way, you know, we can pretty much accomplish anything as long as we can visualize it, and we have, you know, the confidence to face it head on and not run away from it. So that's a gift I have. I face things. I don't mind challenges. Difficulties are just literally a part of life, and I've accepted this. The things I struggle with are prioritizing, you know, and sort of time management, things like that. I struggle with. So maybe I can meet someone along the way that can help me sort that out.
Yeah, we all need people who cover our weaknesses.
Right, and it's all about it's all about checks and balances, and what I'm good at, you're not good at. What you're good at, I'm not good at, and that's why we all need each other. And again, this is a interdependency aspect of it. Everything's interrelated, and we should never view ourselves as isolated in this experience of life.
Yeah, you can't win a chess game with only one piece. You really can't.
Sure. Yeah. So let's I don't know, man. How you feeling? Do you want me to get into that and try and give that summary of what's going on with Trick and Daniel, or do you just want to just
Well,
end it now?
I think we'll save that for another time. I better let you get back to your girlfriend and your camping trip or whatever that you need to do.
I got to pack and do some food prep and stuff.
Yeah, but it's always good to talk to you, Pafo. It makes me feel better. So yeah, so we'll talk again sometime when we're both free, and maybe we can go into a little bit about that discussion, what's happening psychologically, what this misunderstanding is about.
Absolutely. It's not. Yeah, there's misunderstandings in there, but I don't think this is about a misunderstanding. I think this is about people defending their positions.
Yeah.
Because it's important to them. Because there are investments, and there are things that are important to them. There's a reason why you and I talk about things we talk about, because we're compelled to, and that's why Daniel is adamant about the things he's adamant, because he's feeling compelled to stand for something and stand against something, and so is Trick, and so are you and me. So that's all we got to do, is get to the core, the motivating factors involved, and I think that we can, in a diplomatic way, understand each other a lot better and move forward and make progress without ad hominem attacks, insults, and literally being vulgar and rude and disrespecting each other, because there's no need for any of that.
Right. And see, the way I look at it is because it's not really about us. It's really about this understanding, it should be about the philosophy itself. That's what it should be about. And hopefully people who listen to us discuss that will still get benefit from that, even if they don't know what happened exactly. They don't know who I am, don't know who you are, don't know who Daniel or Trick is. In fact, that's the goal, I think, is if they can understand, when we're talking about how somebody misunderstood antinatalism and they think it's something that it's not, for example. I think we wanted to make it so just about anybody can understand, hopefully.
Yeah, so you're saying, even talking about it in general could help people, because these are
right,
skill sets.
Because they are common. These are common things that happen, I think.
Yeah, definitely. In communication with people, it's so. I mean, I understand Republicans and I understand the Democrats, man, but I'm not a Democrat or a Republican.
And the worst part is I don't know the difference. I really don't.
Let's put it this way. When you polarize yourself into one of these two categories, you're actually working for the same corrupt people who are in charge of everything. But there are pros and cons to both positions. And the point I was trying to get to was, I know where they're coming from. I could help them understand each other better. I just have this gift that I can see where the people are both coming from. And the point is, the actual communication is just terrible. The actual communication of the ideas and the retaliations and the response and the way that they interact and their language and the dialogue between these different warring parties. I mean, you learn this on Game of Thrones. You learn it through history.
Yeah.
The misunderstandings that occur because people don't see the intentions. They don't see sort of the operating system that's behind it. They don't see what their motivations are. So that's really important, man. I just think it's forget what someone's saying for a minute and ask them why. Why are you saying this? Why is this significant to you? Why does it mean so much to you? And I bet 9 times out of 10 you'll find out that it's a very similar reason why you hold your position. That they have they've seen something in their life, they have a family member, they have an experience, they have something that's that's led them to this point. And that gets into the whole no free will thing, is that literally it's
Yeah.
their environment and their experiences that have shaped them. So you'll come to find out that it's whatever it is that's driving them is probably something very close to your own motivations, and it's universal. And so if we can recognize the similitude, if we can recognize the similarities between us, and the common ground, if we can see the common ground, then we can do much better in terms of our communication with each other, with other nations, other races. I think there's only one race, the human race, but separate ethnicities, definitely between ethnicities and cultures, we can understand each other better, if we could see the universal aspects that are at play there. So there you go.
Yeah. Yeah, that would help so many things. I would like that kind of communication to be happening with, whether it's different political parties or different religions or different philosophies about any sort of thing. That would be so awesome. Change the world.
We can, if we can understand it and if we can implement it. There's a movie, Highlander, and at the end, the very first movie, he gets a gift. I mean, they're all immortals; they can't die unless they cut their head off. They sword fight, and then there can be only one. That's the phrase. And at the end, he gets the gift because he wins the gift of being able to understand people, to understand nations. He knows what people are thinking, and he can help people communicate better. And I think that's one of the greatest gifts you could ever ask for. If I had a superpower, well, probably be invisibility, or I don't know, something else. But if I had a superpower, invisibility, and also the power to stop time. Invisibility,
Yeah.
not you don't want to be a pervert and in the locker room, but just be able to get around and be able to go and do things without people knowing that you're there. That would really be cool. But let's see, I'm getting off track here. No, the gift, I think one of the greatest gifts that we could ever ask for is understanding, being able to help people communicate better. That's kind of a superpower, if you can cultivate it and if you can refine it. So I think I just do that intuitively, but I'm sure I can get better at it if I tried. But my problem is I'm just spread out in too many different areas. So
Yeah.
focus, man. We got to have a focus, and we got to have a singular goal. And I say it's teaching biopan, because that involves everything. That's our
Yeah.
biology, and our place in this in the grand scheme of things. So anyway, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you have a good night for now, Pop. I'll let you get back to the things you got to do.
All right, brother. Thank you, and feel good and feel better about yourself. Take a hiatus, man. Take a vacation if you need it. Nobody's gonna hold that against you. You've
Yeah.
been doing so much good work. So do what you need to do. Take care of yourself. I
All
hope you
right.
feel better, and just remember these talks, because they're out there now in the ether, and you can watch them anytime. Just watch some old podcasts, and maybe it'll help. Put things in
Yeah.
perspective.
Maybe so.
All right,
All
brother.
right. Right. Bye.
Have a good night.